they had Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson, Paul George, and James Johnson.
Insane. That is just.
And you guys beat them by 30,
and
eh?
You beat them by 30. Today we have a very special guest, but before I introduce him, we have another one who's he is my co-host. He is one of the inspirations behind even the name of this podcast. He and I actually overuse the term legend. He does absurd comedy. He used to play D1 basketball, and he's a legend in his own right. His name is Big Nem Stankovic. He's my brother, 6'9" behemoth. Hello.
I'm still growing. Where are we supposed to be looking at?
I mean, look where you want. I guess
Here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you don't need to look at the camera. We can just chat. How do you feel? Is this your first podcast?
No.
Oh, sorry.
North of the 49. Hello.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I did actually listen to that. Cool. So today's guest, we've both known him for a while. You especially. You want to talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, Coach Roe Russell, a.k.a. The Rev.
The Rev, yeah.
Probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, pioneers in Canadian basketball. He's shaped and formed Canadian basketball from the ground up, starting with nothing. I mean, he's going to get into it, but he started with nothing. Yes. He was a hockey player as a kid, right? And then nobody was really playing basketball, and then he ended up playing, and then he basically built a grassroots empire. And I mean, it's funny because his club team is called Grassroots Canada, which is now a well-oiled machine.
Speak of the devil, he's actually trying to get... Oh, here he is.
Let's do it.
Let's bring him on. And today we have a very special guest.
Very special.
Yeah. When you think of basketball in Canada, one name pops into my head instantly, and he's the pioneer of basketball development in Canada. He's had over 474 players go D1 in the States, $350 million made in contracts, $30 million in college scholarships. 9 of them went to the NBA, 10 to the G League, 65 overseas, 56 to the national team, so on and so forth. Can we please welcome the legend that is Roe Russell?
Roe.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming on, Rev.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. No problem.
What's going on? How are you dealing with quarantine?
You just be creative. You know, you exercise, you read. I'm actually starting to write a book. Use this time to do things that you were too busy to do because you're always in the go. Now you don't have a lot to do, so you have a lot of time on your hands to just dabble with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I've never seen you not work.
Yeah, that's what makes me go. You know, I gotta do something. I gotta make something happen. I can't just relax. Like I go to bed at maybe 2:00 in the morning and I wake up at 6:00 in the morning.
Have you always had that drive?
Yes, because when I was 5 years old, I was an entrepreneur at 5.
That's early.
Elaborate.
Yeah, both of my parents were entrepreneurs. They both owned businesses downtown. My mother was the first black hairstylist in Canada. My father was the first record company or record store in Toronto. And so they used to bring me to their workplace, and I used to get busy and sweep and do errands and do cash and, do a bunch of stuff for them. So I was, making like, $20 a day. $20 back in the 70s, that was like $100 or more, you know what I'm saying?
You're balling.
5 years old.
Yeah.
So even though I was 5 years old, where a lot of kids will be fooling around, sleeping, playing games, playing with their toy cars, I was, an entrepreneur. So that started from back then.
And when did basketball come into play?
Basketball started at 13. Because my parents, were entrepreneurs. We lived in a good area down by Oakwood and St. Clair, and so I was the only black kid in the whole area. So everybody played hockey. So from like 5 until 12, I played hockey. And it wasn't until I had an incident where I was called racial slurs playing in my MTHL league, where I decided that I wasn't gonna play hockey no more. And then on my way home from school one day, I saw these guys playing outside, on the basketball court outside, and I said that looks pretty cool, and I was so far removed from basketball because I was so involved in hockey, trading cards, going to shinny, going to playing MTHL, watching the Stanley Cup and the NHL, and I was just consumed with all that hockey stuff that I wasn't even paying attention to at the NBA games on Sunday and the college games on Saturday. And I took my first shot, and it was a swish. And then I was like, hey, I think I could be good at this. So then I started. That was my start of basketball.
That's when the legend was born.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That swish sound.
And
Just
the rest is history, as they say.
Damn.
Amazing.
I mean, we'll talk about the growth and everything, but like, what are kind of the origins of Grassroots? Because you started the biggest AAU team in the country. That was basically you taking over the
even
States.
the continent at some points in time.
You say Grassroots Elite, North America knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they definitely know. We've been doing it from '89. I was coaching at when I was 19, and I was coaching at George Brown College, this spring league for high school players. And I started at 19 when I was my freshman year in college, and I came back from this Division II school in Massachusetts, and I wanted to get into coaching, and I was already training. I was training from 13. When I was 13, I was training guys, and I was charging them $1 an hour. That was my charge, and I was that guy on the other side working on my game, working on my left hand, working on my my change of direction and my combo moves and my reverse layups and floaters. And so I was always above my time in terms of the skills I had, because I was watching college games, watching NBA games, and just mimicking what they were doing at an elite level. And so at 19, we had a George Brown College summer league, spring summer league, and we had an all-star game after the league was over. And I was like, these guys could play, man. There's got to be something more than just going to York, going to Ryerson, going to U of T, going to Guelph, going to McMaster or Ottawa or Carleton. And I started just like thinking about it and making some phone calls. And I knew a cousin in the States in New Jersey. And I called him and I said, hey, man, like, what do you guys do down there? How do you, like, there's got to be more. We got some really good players up here. And he was like, they play AAU. And I was like, what's AAU? And after he told me, and then after I started doing some research, I'm like, okay, the closest place to Canada is Buffalo. Maybe there's some AAU down there. So I started making some phone calls. Back then, there was no internet. You couldn't Google stuff. There was no social media. You had to actually dial 0, get the operator, and then tell the operator what you want. You want University of Buffalo, or you want the Buffalo YMCA, or AAU, and you do research like that. You know what I'm saying? And then when I figured out there's this camp going on, because it was early in the year, it was like March. So I said, let me bring our guys to this exposure camp and start from there. So I went to this Eastern Invitational exposure camp, and our guys did exceptionally well and played really well. And a lot of coaches were coming up to me saying, hey, I never knew there was players in Canada. Dang, your guys can play, and they're like giving our guys offers, scholarship offers and everything. And I started getting business cards and stuff like that. And then when I came back, coaches would call me up and, you should come down to Ohio, you should come down to Michigan, you should come down to New Jersey, Philly, New York, Chicago, all over, because you got some players. And so then that was like the start of AAU, where I went back and start training our guys in the gym to get them ready, because I knew the level was really, really good. And then we would go to Buffalo, go to Michigan, go to, you know, Detroit, or whatever, go to Pittsburgh and all over, and just play teams. And that was the start of AAU.
And then you guys even got like a big sponsor. You got And One, which was big in the day.
Yeah, so in 91, we used to go to Philly all the time, and that's where the And One headquarters was, in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And we were playing a lot of tournaments and stuff. And one of the directors of And One saw our team play and saw how hungry they were. They played with a chip on their shoulder because we wanted to prove ourselves, and they're really athletic. And we beat some really good teams. And they started asking me questions about, you know, Canada and basketball, what I was doing and the players. And I was like, I'm the only AU guy in Canada, so I can get any player in the entire country to play for me. And back then there was no rules in terms of, you know, bordering states, and coaches can come up, like, you know, it wasn't as it is now. And you know, he brought me to the headquarters with our team, and when we went there, Jamal Crawford was there. He just got drafted in the NBA after his freshman year, I think, from Michigan, and he was their first, you know, player representative for N1. And we met him, and we took some grainy pictures with our flip phone. And then he stopped me in the office and told me that he wants to sponsor our team. And at first, I didn't even know, like, sponsorship, what's that? You know what I'm saying? Because that wasn't a thing back then, you know what I'm saying?
What year was this?
Huh?
What year was
This
it?
was like 92, 93?
91.
91.
Yeah, summer of 91. And then he said, hey, we'll outfit you guys with shoes, uniforms, T-shirts, socks, bags, and all that stuff, and even give you some travel, expenses and stuff. And then we just, went from there. And, that was the start of Grassroots Elite. But at that time, it was called Toronto Elite.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't really branched out past the GTA as much. It wasn't until 99 where we changed it to Grassroots Elite.
Is that when you felt like, when you made that change of name, even, is that when you felt like you got something strong here, like a big platform to work off of? Or did you know before? Like, when did you know this was going to become a, North American powerhouse? Yeah.
Probably 95, because we went to this tournament in New Jersey, and we beat all these really good teams from Baltimore, from New York, from Philadelphia, that had some big time players on their team. And we lost in the finals to this New Jersey team. But, it was a close game. And, people were like coming, like everybody was lining up to talk to me. Like, wow. First of all, they're saying there's black guys in Canada, right? Then they're saying there's basketball in Canada.
I thought y'all lived in igloos.
Yeah. That they're asking, like, does the snow all the time, and is it just a hockey country and that's it, and and all the stereotypes, and so we kind of changed their minds about basketball in Canada, and that's when I knew that this was big, because this was life-changing, because coaches were offering scholarships. You know what I mean? They were offering scholarships. And before this, most guys were going to Canadian universities, which is all good, but it wasn't full scholarships. It wasn't like on television. It wasn't traveling. It wasn't having that road to get to the NBA, and then that's when I said, you know what, I got to work this to try to, I want to have a 10-year plan to where I want to get guys to the NBA, and figure this whole thing out. And so that was how it went to the next level.
And I mean, you could just tell that it was a whole nother level of just grit and hustle. Like, I guess talk a little bit about Rose runs, because that's a big part where people could see that, these players were fighting for it. They really wanted it.
Yeah, they definitely wanted it big time because at that point I was the only AU program in Canada, and everybody had to come. So kids are coming from Hamilton, Barrie, Peterborough, and everywhere else in the GTA. And you may have 50, 60, 70 guys at Rose Runs. And we'd have different gyms along the subway line where it's accessible to get there. And we would go from 6 to 9. So they come in at 6, they warm up, shoot around. Could we have 2 gyms? Like at Central Commerce, mostly started at Central Commerce where we had 2 gyms, and they would warm up in one gym and then play in the other gym, or work out in one and play in the other. And it was real. It was pure. You had to earn it. You had to wait. There's some all-stars, some D1 players, some Canadian national team players, some pros. They had to wait their turn. They had to sit down and wait for the older guys to play and prove themselves. And you might only get one run, and then you got to watch the rest. And when you got to play, you got to play really, really good for maybe someone picks you up. If you don't play well, you're not getting picked up.
Like you even had scouts coming to those.
Yeah, we had. You might see Syracuse there, Michigan there, Buffalo there, St. John's there. You never knew who you're going to see at the runs. You might 5, 10, 15 coaches. So everyone was coming, because before then they weren't going to, high schools or events really like that. So, everybody, the word was out. I don't know how the word was out, because back then it was word of mouth and MSN Messenger. That was the only thing that was going on.
I remember.
Do you remember that, Nem? You went to Rose Runs.
Yeah,
tell me a bit about your experience.
Even in the 2000s, when I joined Grassroots through the runs. I guess you saw me. I was only in I think it was towards the end of grade 10. And in grade 10, I was averaging 35 a game for junior basketball. I'm playing for North Toronto. I mean, the competition wasn't really high, but I was training by myself 6 hours a day. This was my life, my dream. And then my buddy Pierre, my best friend at the time, he was his brother was playing Julian, and he was playing for you. And Julian was 6'9", 6'10", freak athlete. And I always looked up to Julian, so I'm like, where's Julian playing? And Pierre's like, oh, he's playing for Grassroots. You never heard of Grassroots? I'm like, no, it's Grassroots. It's the best team in Canada. And they have these runs around Jane and Finch. I'm like, oh, okay. So I started busing up to Stanley, and I was just I was lanky. I had no meat on me. I just started dunking in grade 10, which is embarrassing because I was already 6'7". But I had a little bit of skill, and I had that dream. And I remember joining, and we do a little bit of drills, and then we just start the runs, and it's all fifth year guys throwing lobs. There's coaches there looking at us, and I'm just whoa. I'm this is what I need, yo. This is I need to be doing this as much as possible. And within even a month or two, my game skyrocketed. It obviously took me a couple years, but even by a year after that, I got my athleticism up and my skills. And then by my last year, I was ranked between 1st and 10th power forwards in Canada. But I a big reason of my development was Grassroots. And
yeah, definitely. And Rose Runs, because you got to play. You might be in the 9th grade, and you got to play against a guy in the 12th grade. You know, and it was just all the guys you saw and heard about, the top players, they were there, and you got the chance to play against them, compete against them, prove yourself. Because we had a lot of hidden gems like yourself. You're a hidden gem, and you have to come in there with a chip on your shoulder because you want to prove yourself that I can ball with these big guys. I want to play AAU, and I got to prove myself and get approval from Coach Rowe and the players that, I should be in the mix with all that. So that was the tail end of Rose Runs. It went from 93 to a little bit in 2000s with Stanley. And after Stanley, then we start having like
Fall stuff.
conventional
Yeah.
practices and then scrimmages at the end. So the way we would do it is if guys worked hard at practice and they ran hard and they went hard in the drills and stuff, then we would scrimmage at the end. But if they were chilling and not going into it hard, then we would just run at the end of it and just do suicides and all that stuff and push ups and everything. So I was trying to maintain an old school mentality with the guys because I knew when they went to college, that's how most of the coaches were. They're old school, and they weren't about entitlement and being spoiled and getting what you want and having it your way and all that stuff. You have to grind, like they say, grind and shine. So it was instilling that values in guys. So because I wanted them to go and be productive in university and not just go there on a scholarship and not play. I wanted them to have that mentality that the Americans had, so they could compete at that level.
And how is Nem?
Nem started off a little bit. He was kind of slow. His jump shot was a little bit slow. His movements and stuff. But if you're around like Olu Ashelu and you're around Marvell Wade and you're around Jabari Williams and all these other guys that are out there, then you're gonna just adapt to what they're doing. And then when you're doing drills on drills on drills on drills, because he would come in between the practices and the runs to train. And I used to train him and work on his right hook and his up and under and all that stuff. And we used to do different drills to get him more athletic. Then, he went from a guy that was not playing as much to a starter. You know what I mean? So that was good that he developed his game over the time to where he became a Division I player. So, I was proud of you, Nem, for working hard and listening and fighting through it. And when you had the tough times and when I'd yell and scream at you, what are you doing, Nem? What are you doing?
We had a lot of those. Sometimes I'd be a little bit aloof, as still to this day I am. But I definitely blossomed through Grassroots and like
absolutely.
You even gave me the chance to transfer to Vaughan Road.
Because I wanted you to go to a higher level high school where you can play and win and travel and be around guys that have the same goals. So that was a really good move to transfer to Vaughan.
Yeah, we were like ranked. No, it was us in Eastern, and then like that last year we had too many people transfer over, and like it imploded. But like player for player.
Like in the golden days, like you guys had Alex Johnson, Ashley July.
Yeah, and that second year, it was like so many people coming in and we had so many egos, and then we just dispersed. So nothing really happened.
That 1 year was insane.
The first year we lost an offset.
Finals. And that's when I had the first prep school program, TAPS.
Yeah, that's right. We played against you guys.
And we used to play Vaughan all the time and give them extra competition, because we had all fifth-year guys and we wanted them to get more competition to, really extend their game. So, those are the days.
Talk about where that shift happened, because I feel like me and Alex's generation was like the last generation where we really didn't get the kind of the exposure that exists today. I feel like I think it was the year after. 2008 when you won Vegas with Dwight?
Well, that changed everything. Vegas changed everything because we were the first Canadian team, 17 and under, to be ranked number 1 in America. We won the Super 64 against historical teams. Like one game we played, which I didn't know until years after, I didn't know that we were playing against Double Pump Elite, and we were late to the game, and we just made it with like 2 minutes left in grace period before they're going to cancel the game. And because there's a big construction and we had to go around a longer route to get there, and we came in and we beat the number 2 ranked team in America by 30.
Wow.
Crazy.
And they were there waiting for us, warming up and everything. So it wasn't later. I was sitting with Cory Joseph, and we were having dinner with Kawhi Leonard. And he goes to me, "Hey, Coach, don't you remember we played against you guys in 2008?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, that was me with the braids. I had my braids from back in the day. I
No
started
way.
thinking in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They had Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson, Paul George, and James Johnson
Insane. That is
on
just.
And you
that
guys
one
beat them
team.
by 30,
And you
eh?
beat
And we
them
beat
by
them by
30.
30. Yeah.
That's
Like we were
insane.
so dominant. So that's when the whole country knew that Canada got players. Most of them play for grassroots. Let's go get those players. And then
Yeah.
everything started. And that was like when YouTube was just starting to get in there, social media, Facebook now is coming in and all that stuff. And now the social media age starts now where you know you can be in a gym in Toronto and you could tape it and put it on YouTube and everyone in the whole world sees you. And so it was easy to get recruitment now because before you had to get those VHS tapes
Oh,
and mail them out to coaches, right?
I
Yeah.
remember
But
when we were Nem's last year in high school. I remember one night, like my mom and I were going.
Had
We went to
CDs.
Shoppers and we went to go like prep. We had like 20 different like DVDs, which we helped film his highlights on like little
Yes.
DV tapes. Transferred it.
I think it was the first year or second year of YouTube where it wasn't
we
big.
transferred it to
exactly.
like our
And,
computer, then put it on
yeah.
CDs.
Yeah, the process. You gotta do everything. You gotta send
Yeah.
Yeah.
you gotta send tapes out, you gotta go to tournaments, you gotta bring coaches up, you gotta perform when they
Yeah.
you know they can see you online and on live stream. So you gotta do a whole range of things to get exposure. You can't just
Yeah.
do one thing. Back then it was like maybe 0.5% of players went Division One.
Yeah.
And it's probably with the advent of social media, it's probably 1% now. And then by playing for AAU for grassroots, it might go up to 2 or 3%. And then social media might bring it to 5%. And so the odds are getting better with social media and like going to prep school. Prep school is the new thing that enhances that because you're playing. And Von Road was like a prep school, right? Because
Yeah.
all these top players came to one school, and they were a lot stronger than a regular high school team that were kids who were just from one area. And now you can go and compete against top teams and travel and have coaches come in and you look better on tape. If my team is really good, the coach will believe that I'm a good player rather than if I'm just me alone and I take all the shots and I have no one around me and it doesn't really come across good. So the evolution has been cool to see how it's really come to where I can pick up the phone and say, Coach, I got this kid. He's this, that. I'll send you a video, and the coach signs him. That's where it is right now for myself, especially now with COVID, where there's no AAU going on, no camps. Coaches can't come up and see guys. Players can't go down to campuses and work out for coaches. I've been on the phone just working it. And because of my reputation from back in the late 80s, I can be able to, influence and persuade coaches to give guys scholarships because of who I am, what I've done. And also, we have a video of them so they could see it to verify that what I'm saying.
You've built up such a reputation that, like, when you say a player is worth it, these coaches are from big, huge schools are listening.
Yeah, the biggest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was talking to a coach the other day, and 2 days ago, and he was saying that he wasn't even looking for that position. Like he was looking like for a big man. But if Ro Russell calls me, I'm gonna take that phone call and listen to him, and I might switch up and say, you know what, because I told him to look at this kid. I might take that kid instead. And that's what he's actually doing now. He's recruiting a different position that he originally had met with his coaches about wanting because, he knows when I come calling that it's serious, it's real.
When do you think that big shift happened for the NBA and the rest of the world to notice? Because in my mind, that was with Tristan and Cory. And like after that, they kind of
it was 08. 08 was a historical year for us. Then coaches knew that we had high major players, and then coaches knew that we had pros. So that kind of broke the basketball borders, from Canada to US, where it wasn't like, oh, those Canadians and they're not at our level and they're not ready. To where like, yo, let's go get these Canadians. And they ushered in a new age: Tristan, Cory, Dwight, Mike Kabongo, Brady Heslip, Nick Stauskas, Andrew Wiggins, the whole group of guys, because they went to prep schools in the States. They went to camps in the States. They were McDonald's All-Americans. They played in the Jordan Classic, the Hoop Summit, the NBA Top 100 camp. They did all that stuff, and they kept on proving themselves in all arenas. You know what I'm saying? So you were sure that this guy was a pro because he keeps doing it in every challenge that he gets. And then, that's when, you have guys like, Anthony Bennett gets #1 drafted, and Jamal Murray, and, Dylan Brooks, and all the rest of them, start getting drafted. Now you have Shea, Gilchrist Alexander, and Nikhil Alexander, and all those guys now are doing their thing. And now you have, to a point where you have a guy like Elijah Fisher, who's, could be the best of all of them.
He's a young powerhouse. How old is he? He's 16?
15.
15.
Man,
wow.
I was watching the videos in that docu-series, which you're a huge part of, True North, and he was, 12 or 13 at the time, and he looked like a grown man.
Yeah, he was 13 years old, and he was on his way, and he used to have RJ Barrett used to be like his big bro, where he would look up to him and, kind of say, hey, I want to get to that level, and he'd take advice from him and the whole nine, because, RJ's obviously is a great player and, great ambassador of Canadian basketball. And now Elijah has now been passed the torch. Now it's his turn to, really open it up, because now there's so much more things going on in basketball now. Now you have, they may open it up where in a couple of years where you can go straight to the NBA from high school. They have it where from high school you can go to the G League and not go in the draft, and then raise your stock and then get paid and then go into the league and the draft. And all these different things, guys are going overseas. It's, all these different things are happening. And I think Elijah will go to college for a year because he loves that experience. He really loved that RJ and Zion thing that happened a couple of years ago.
That was wild.
Where they made that big run and was on all over the TV. They're coming to Toronto and everyone's coming to watch them and all that stuff. So, I think he'll do it that way in terms of, one and done. But,
that's crazy.
So he played senior since the 7th grade, and he started for me. So I'm yelling and screaming at this 13-year-old kid, and like as if he's 18, 19, you know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
And then you like kind of hold up. I forgot he's only 13.
He reminds me of LeBron and Durant in one.
Yeah.
How tall is he now? Like 6'8", 6'7"?
6'7".
Yeah, he's definitely still growing.
He's been growing. He was 6'6" at the end of the season, like in February, and he's grown an inch again because he's been at home, resting and sleeping and all that stuff. So he still exercises and trains in the backyard, in the garage, the driveway, court. But he's been well rested, so he's grown again. So
it's amazing.
Both of his parents are tall. His father is 6'5", his mother is 6'2". So who knows, he might get to that 6'8", and he plays the guard for me. So those similarities, comparisons with LeBron and KD are good comparisons. That's his goal.
It's amazing.
And he plays. He goes to school at Crestwood right now, right?
Yeah, he plays at Crestwood Prep for me.
You're coaching
this year we won OFSA, we also play in the OSBA Prep League for competition, and we go to tournaments in the U.S.
How do you find that all-star talent? Because you have a special talent in yourself of finding those gems across the country.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a gift from God, because I can see in the future. I can see, like, if they start here, if we do this, put this plan in place, even though they're not where they should be or where everyone wants them to be, we're going to get them there, because I have a blueprint that I've been using since, the early 90s to develop these guys. And, I just look at everything. I look at their feet. I look at how they walk. I look at their eyes and how they talk to you and how they operate and their swag. And, I just look for all these little nuances. And I said, okay, they have certain things that I can work with. I'll give them the rest. And then I, take chances on a lot of hidden gems. Like when I had Brady Heslip, no one knew Brady Heslip was going to be this pro.
That's the craziest story, because I remember when Brady was younger, but he was playing with me, and he was like a little potato that could shoot.
Yeah.
And then he just turned into like a world-class level talent.
A little potato.
Exactly. Like no one knew, but I knew that, hey, this kid, we can get some stuff out of this little short, chubby, white guy. We can get something out of him, and we did. And that's why I sing his praises and his work ethic. And that's the number one thing. You got to have that superior work ethic. When everyone else is chilling, everyone else is sleeping, everyone else is finished, everyone else is tired, everyone else is playing video games. You're training. You're on the court. You're outside in the driveway. You're in the basement. You're just keep working and you'll get better. And that a lot of times, guys, it's like that's enough. I had enough of training. Let me do something else. But those great ones like your Steve Nashes and your Kobe Bryants and all those kind of guys, that's the marker. That's the standard that you have to have in terms of work ethic. And look at their careers. You know what I mean? Look what they did. So
yeah. And so how do you feel about, the Olympics? How do we get Canada to number 1?
Well, I don't know if we'll be number 1, but if we're number 2, that would be pretty cool. If we got silver, because I know that all the big boys are looking to play in the next Olympics because the World Championships wasn't too good for the American teams, and the year before that, or 2 years before that, RJ Barrett single-handedly basically beat USA. So I know that going forward, the big dogs are going to be coming out to play. Like they're not messing around. Before they're sending their B guys, but now they're going to send their A guys. So vice versa, we got to send our A guys. Like all the top guys have to play. Andrew Wiggins has to play. Tristan Thompson, Cory Joseph, Shea has to play. Dylan Brooks, Jamal Murray, like all the top guys, Dwight Powell, everyone has to play. They can't say my contract or I'm going on vacation or I'm injured. Like everyone has to be healthy. Everyone has to say, let's do this. Let's all, forget about our feelings or our mentalities or our priorities and just make this be their priority. Because if the top players, because if you have a team, here's a secret. If NBA guys get cut from training camp, we're going to get a medal. I have nothing against the Canadian university players that played in the national team over the years. They're great players. They didn't get an opportunity. They had great university careers in Canada. But let's call a spade a spade. If a guy is an NBA pro and he gets cut from the Canadian team, that team's going to be really, really good if we're cutting NBA guys. And that team should be all NBA players.
Do you think that passion is there amongst the new generation of players? Because I hear a lot about like, guys don't want to risk it. Guys don't do this. Because me and Nora come from like a basketball family. We come from originally Yugoslavia and Serbia, where that's like ingrained, like literally as children, we're ingrained watching the Olympics and watching our country play. That's like the biggest thing you could ever do as an athlete, play for your country and win for your country on the world stage. And I feel like I think we've had that in Canada. It's been growing slowly, but Canada was never, there. But now it's like we have the talent. Do you think that culture is there yet?
Yeah, the culture is slowly getting there, slowly.
Yeah.
And I think that 24 will do pretty good, but I think 28 is when the younger guys coming up that have really seen it and seen what could be, and they really getting the handle of it. They've been ingrained in that mentality and that culture. I think that's when we're gonna really be patriotic and it'll be like natural. Like, okay, I'm playing. Like it shouldn't be like, I don't know. Okay, I'll play. I can't play. I don't want to play.
Yeah.
You got to play for your country. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, about, just playing for any old team, whatever. But for the national team, you got to play for that team.
Yeah, you got to represent.
It's like going to war as a soldier.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
almost.
It's like World War.
Just
Yeah.
seeing Canada up there.
Well, I
That would
think
be a dream come true.
in June, that was the biggest, I think, the biggest cultural shift when we won the championship. That was like something I couldn't even conceive happening anytime soon.
I seen it from, again, everything goes back to '08. I seen it in '08
Yeah.
because I was like, just like any other NBA team, eventually they'll get that one dude, that one GM that will turn it around. Like it took Pat Riley, right, going down to Miami
Yeah.
and changing the whole culture of Miami. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It took Stu Jackson go to LA and doing the same, and it took, it's taken all these. Look at Milwaukee Bucks now. Look at how Denver's climbing up the ladder. Look at how how even Portland has moved up the ladder. So you need that special president GM who's gonna have that mind. He knows talent and he can forecast, where players are gonna, end up and put it together. So I knew that because Toronto's a basketball city, and we're gonna have the fan support and the infrastructure and the corporate support, that eventually, guys will come here, not thinking that I don't want to go to Canada. It's cold, it's boring, this that. They come here, they say, "Dang, I want to sign a multi-year contract, or I want to stay here, or I'll go there as a free agent." And eventually we're going to put it together, because if we can get Vince Carter, we can get Tracy McGrady, we can get all these other players that came here, then, we're going to get some pieces that we can, have a chance to go at the title. So I was elated, and I was like, this is great. And it was a great moment for me, but I was like, I seen this coming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're not just a regular Canadian city, you know what I'm saying? We're totally Americanized in the basketball world.
When do you think we can, get that second championship, and get that consistency going?
Could have happened this year as a sleeper.
Yeah, I unfortunately, I think that we missed the boat for what happened this year. That it's going to be kind of tough because guys are going to be 1 year older. Free agents going to kick in, and certain guys are going to move on and stuff. So I think it's going to take another go at it. If Masai stays and the leadership stays, then it'll take another 3 or 4 years for us to get the group together that can make it happen. But we need at least 2 all-stars. You got to win with 2 all-stars. You can't win with 1 all-star. You need 2 all-stars. So we'll see.
And so if there is another team, NBA team that comes to Canada, is there a potential of seeing Ro Russell coach an NBA team?
Hey, we'll see. But they're talking about bringing the team back to Vancouver because they feel that now Vancouver can, fit a team. The culture has shifted, and people are playing and participating more. So now they'll be more received than it was before when it was a total hockey city. Mm-hmm. And so they want to get back to Canada again. So I think that would be good. And who knows? Whether it be a new NBA team, the Toronto Raptors, whatever. I see myself, moving on to another level. I won't be doing this forever. You know what I mean? There's going to come a time where I've done my time and I pass it on to someone else. And I feel that I could I'd be a great coach or a scout or even a general manager of a team. So, hey, who knows? You just got to keep doing it and things will work itself out.
I want to go lastly, talk about some funny stories. You've had a lot of characters on your teams, including my brother over here.
Well, I was I was always crazy, but I was kind of still shy at that time. I kept my weirdness.
Ned would have his moments like when they're in the back of the van or in the hotel room and they're around the guys, then you see, that humor and the antics that Nem has come out. But he was more reserved guy publicly, but when he get around the guys and his friends and stuff, that's when the really
the weird voices
personality comes out.
I remember when we went to Vegas and we'd have our little wrestling matches in the rooms.
Oh yeah, those wrestling matches.
And we'd have the whole team in one room just wrestling.
Yeah, because that was like a rite to passage.
Yeah.
That was like, if you want to play for Grassroots, if you want to go to the next level, if you want to go and play D1, you got to go wrestle that guy. You got to show that you're willing to fight for it, that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get that. So it was a form of old school, mentality building, and to see who the alpha dogs were.
Yeah.
And I had been saying, hey, I'll wrestle too. So I would get in there and I would wrestle guys and pin them and count them out and say next.
Coach Ro would be eating a bucket of nachos and have those 3-liter pop bottles that don't even exist in Canada, and he'd put it down and he's like, all right, let me take care of this kid.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do this. And because I took wrestling in high school, and so I had some prior knowledge of techniques and stuff, and so I'm a competitor. So let's do this. Let's compete. And so we had great times. A lot of upsets on them. A lot of guys that you thought, this guy is better than this guy. Then it would be the opposite guy that would win it. And you're like, dang. And you're impressed by that underdog that beat the favorite, because you're like, that's what I want. I want us to have that underdog mentality to beat the top teams out there and go against the best players and beat them and outplay them. So it was a really good time. We'd always have great jokes and different antics, like in the van, in the hotel, in the locker room, like, quiet areas where it was just us, where guys could be themselves and could kind of open up a little bit. So it was always a fun time as well. But then once you came near to the gym, no fun and games. Put your hard hat on and your work boots, and you get your lunch pail, and let's go work. Let's go beat this team. Let's go take their name. Let's go, get opportunities. And so, there was always a time and place for fun and games, but you were there for a reason. We're going to Vegas not to have fun and get experience, is to win and get exposure, get scholarships. And then by doing that, the reward for doing what you did is going on the strip, going to the movies, playing around, horse playing, all that stuff,
Yeah, I remember. I used to love going to Falstaff as a kid and just watching you guys, like, the waft of sweat. Like, you knew they were going. You knew they were going hard. They were like properly like training. I'd never seen anything like it. They were all hungry. And then cut to, I remember a tournament in Syracuse. I think it was U16, U17. You guys won it, and it was it was an incredible. Like, I have that memory. I was just a little kid, but I just remember that. I'm like, this is big.
Yeah,
and that's where our reputation was formed. Where, here comes Grassroots Elite. Let's be ready for them. Oh, they're gonna go to 1-3-1 press, and they got all these top players are athletic, and they're going to alley-oop play and all this stuff. And so everywhere we went, organizers would want us to be in their event, and shoe companies and everything, and to where wherever you go. You go in every state, everyone knows about, Grassroots. So, we've had a really good run, but, we're not done yet, because, we have Elijah Fisher and a bunch of really good players out there that we're ready to make another move. We got some other pros, like we have this kid named Zayden Cross, who I think is going to be a pro. I don't know if you remember Dwayne Cross as his father, and he was a Toronto legend, and his son is gonna be like 6'8", and he plays at 2.
Wow!
And he plays like he plays like a KD and a Paul George type, and so more and more kids are being built from a younger age, because now kids are getting trainers. They're in the 5th grade getting trainers.
Yeah.
They're doing strength conditioning. They're seeing the older guys perform and practice and play. And now they want to get serious, and they're, fixing their bad habits from a young age. They're bringing the shot pocket up, and they're using their left hand, and they're being skilled with their moves, and they're a student of the game, and they're watching videos and highlights and all that stuff, and they're taking it seriously. And now with what the Raptors did and what guys are doing in the NBA, now they feel I can do it too. I can go to the NBA. I can get a scholarship. I can make history. So, that evolution is continuing. We just had not a little, but we had a kind of a big road bump in the road right now. But I think that will flatten out like it is right now, and we'll get back to some sense of normalcy and keeping it going. We won't let this delay and stoppage stop us from really making basketball, the number one sport in Canada, and one of the top 2-3 countries in the world.
If we have a kid listening that's, let's say this kid has talent but isn't really where he or she wants to be, what does this kid need to do to get to the highest level? Let's say, I don't know, probably like high school level. Well, what's your advice to that kid?
If he wants to get to the highest level, unfortunately, he'll have to go to prep school. It's almost impossible to just go to a regular high school and just go. You got to go to a prep school where every practice you're playing against guys are better than you, where they understand development, and they're in the weight room, and they're on the court, and they're doing drills, and they got all the equipment, the shooting machines, and the Vertimax, and all the weights, and all the cones and everything. You got to be where you're working. You can't just depend on just going to the outdoor court and going to driveway and dribbling in your basement and just going to practice. You got to do extra training if you want to get to the highest level. You got to get a trainer who can get you better and teach you. You can't just do it by yourself. You need someone pushing you, someone, refining your game and showing you new things, and refining your body and get your body better. And then you got to play AAU. You got to travel and play against the best in America and experience things like that, and see where your confidence is when you're not at home, because you know how a lot of guys are confident in their home gym, but now go to Vegas and have that same confidence against some 7'2" guy, in front of you, and so you need those experiences to really form who you want to be and where you want to go. And then you have to, go to camps, and you have to, try out for stuff, try out for the national team, try out for a provincial team, and, do all those things. Like you gotta try everything. You gotta want everything. Everything that's out there, you gotta want to be a part of it, to get it. You can't just chill and take it easy and expect it's gonna come to you. You gotta go get it all. You gotta want, like they say, you gotta want all the smoke.
Yep. It's basically, you gotta market yourself too. You can't just be thinking in your head, I'm the best, or I'm
and then they're gonna come see you. You gotta you gotta be on social media, you gotta be social media savvy, you gotta have all the accounts, you gotta be active with it and all that stuff, so
yeah, it's crazy to think, like back in the day we didn't even have Instagram, and now you have Elijah Fisher with like over 90K followers, and this is how it's kind of,
I wish I played today. No, I'm joking. The where I played shaped me as a person, so I'm grateful for playing in my time.
There's only one Nem out there, so it's all good.
Well, there's two Nems. You had another podcast with Little 6'6" Nem.
Shout outs to Superman Johnson and Lil Nem.
Yeah. Shout out to 25 jerseys and counting.
Yeah, those guys are legends too. There you have it, folks. Big things coming still from Ro Russell.
Always.
He wants all the smoke. If you guys want to,
definitely.
Let's get it.
I always pride myself that I won't let no one else work harder than me.
Yeah.
I may not be the hardest worker, but I won't let no one else work harder than me. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is.
And that's why you're a legend.
That's why you're a legend.
You've already got that legendary.
Well,
I just want to say that I do give all glory to God for making me who I am, and my mom and my sister, my wife, my kids, my mentors I've had. So I think I've done a lot in this basketball world, but other people have help shape who I am and why I do this. It's my ministry, and help these kids get opportunities and realize their dreams. And it's there's been people behind me that have helped me to be who I am.
I always say about you, because I know, there's a riff in Canada and there's some haters out there. I've always vehemently defended you, because I'm like, how can anyone even try to like paint Coach Rowe in a negative light? He's basically like Mother Teresa crossed with a social worker. And I'm just
Exactly.
like, he's out here doing it.
After those beautiful poetic words from Rowe, you got Nem going, Mother Teresa.
I'm like, this guy has devoted his life to helping kids, like, and he has his
honestly.
own ministry, and he's a spiritual guy, and he does this for the children. So it's like, that just pisses me off. But anyways,
one thing that's always been amazing is that you've gone above and beyond to help people, like kids who didn't have enough money or have enough to, make it, but you saw that they could. And I remember like we drove a lot of us, like we drove a few players on to tournaments, and you were just constantly like, you made sure everybody got their chance that deserved it, and that's one of the that's a big thing that also stuck with me. And it's just like that, the grind to not just make it, you want to help others as well.
Exactly. My mom, I got it from my mother, because she's always been a humanitarian and all that stuff. So as a young kid, I saw what she's done for other people, donating to other people, helping other causes and charities and stuff. So I always, was brought up in that kind of mindset of helping others and stuff. And then, it's in the Bible as well. So, as a man of faith, that's what I believe in. And I get a lot of satisfaction and a lot of relief that people, are good, and, they've accomplished a lot, and the goal that we set out, they achieved it, and now they can take care of themselves and their family and those kind of things. So, that keeps me going, that passion and that, realization that, it's working, and there's a lot to get from basketball. We use basketball as a tool. Don't let basketball use you, then, you can go far.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you,
no
Rev.
problem.
And thanks for co-hosting. I love this is such a throwback for me. I'm getting a lot of childhood memories.
Yeah, definitely.
We got to get back in the gym, hopefully soon.
We'll do more things in the future.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's great reminiscing about the old times and also the new times.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Make sure you keep drinking your ginger tea.
Yeah,
Gotta stay
that's all
safe
I've been
out here.
doing. It's crazy. Like the herbal market is going to be booming after this.
I know. Nem's made us like multiple concoctions.
That's what everyone is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, the Rev is
herbal
drinking this
tea.
too.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, everyone. That was the Rev, Roe Russell, the legend. Hopefully, we'll have you on again, and we'll keep up with the new things to come.
And we'll
Sounds
work
good.
on other
Thanks
things
for having me on.
together.
Yeah, big projects coming.
All right, Dave.
All right. Take
All
care.
right, take it easy.
All right.
Bye.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check Nem out at Big Nem. You wanna any last words, buddy?
I started using Twitter again, but it's mostly coronavirus content. So you can find me on Instagram at
Right,
Big Nem.
Check him out at Big Nem. Everybody stay home, stay safe, stay legendary. Peace.